Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is October 19th, and right now we're looking at the visible satellite imagery. If you look closely, you can see the dense fog and some of the Willamette Valley here. See how it moves into the valleys here in the Cascades? You can see those valleys outlined very well, including to the coastal range here, northeast Washington, eastern BC also. And you can kind of see that dissipating as we go through the morning hours. Check out the wave action clouds off the Rockies there through Montana. Probably a nice lenticular show if you're off to the west of Great Falls there. You can see some wave action clouds here across the higher terrain of BC. But we've got ongoing precipitation still going across some of the Vancouver Island and southwest BC areas. Some pretty incredible rainfall amounts over the last couple days there as well. But we have a big change coming up here, folks. Very cold air mass looks likely to move down over the region. We're talking about snowfall across the Cascades, the Rocky Mountains here, Idaho, Montana. You're especially going to feel this. And there's still some model discrepancy on how far this trough is going to carve out over the Pacific Ocean here and how much of western Washington, Oregon this is going to include here. We'll dive into those details as we go through the video today. Taking a look at British Columbia. Look at this Kennedy Lake Forestry Station, over 9 inches of precipitation. Tofino up towards 7 inches here. Leonard Island Station up over 5 inches, and some of this is still ongoing right now. This was ended as of yesterday evening as well, 6:11 p.m. So these totals are going to be even clocking in higher. Just an extremely prolific atmospheric river up into Vancouver in British Columbia. And this is looking at total precipitation as of this morning's GFS. You can see that still kind of ongoing as we go through the morning today. Thankfully, that will be wrapping up as we go through this afternoon here, but you could see it. Some places might get up over another half an inch, another inch across some of the higher terrain of southwest British Columbia and the western portion of the higher terrain also. Some of this tries to sag south a little bit into North Washington as we go through this afternoon and evening. Maybe the Cascades picking up a bit of rain, but for the most part, Seattle and Portland have largely missed out on this atmospheric river that's just been pounding British Columbia. Now, as we go a little bit further out here, I'm going to show you what's coming here because this is the GFS hot off the presses. You can see the first system kind of diving into Portland there, maybe a little bit of light precipitation up across Washington, but then the stronger trough drops across the region here. Look at some of these precipitation amounts. You can see some of the rain shadowing across the Puget Sound and some of the Willamette Valley, but look at some of the higher terrain, the Cascades, northeast Washington, Idaho, Montana, big precipitation incoming. A lot of this will be in the form of snowfall too, as this precedes a very cold air mass moving down across the region. More on that here in a moment. This is Portland, Oregon National Weather Service talking about that dense fog advisory out there. We got some sneaker wave activity across the Washington, Oregon coastline also, so watch out for that if you were out and about on the coast today. Big change coming next week. Western Montana, north central Idaho. This goes for British Columbia, Alberta, Wyoming, eastern Montana as well. Big time change coming here, folks. A lot of snow potentially for some of the higher terrain. Early season snowstorm looks to be on tap. Sunny and warm turns to cooler with rain and mountain snow. This is the National Weather Service Spokane picking up on it as well and becoming much cooler here. This was issued actually yesterday here, but there's been no changes so far, and we'll take a look at these details in a moment. Look at Seattle yesterday, a daily record high, 71 degrees. What a nice day it was, and we got another pretty nice day coming up here as well. So yeah, daily record high, very nice. Now, taking a look, if you guys want it, I haven't mentioned this in a few days, but if you want a nice affordable home weather station for your house or your apartment, you can set this up in a lot of places here. Click on that link down below to save 10% off. It's all solar powered. It's all wireless. It's got an ultrasonic anemometer. It's got a haptic rain gauge, UV index, solar radiation sensor. I highly recommend the station. It's got a great smartphone app as well. Now, looking at the European as of last night, this is 18,000 feet. You see BC, Washington, Oregon. We're looking at general ridge and trough position. And you can kind of see the ridge that's been protecting some of Washington, Oregon, is steering the atmospheric river into British Columbia here. And if we put this into motion, you can see the next system here, mainly into Oregon, some light precipitation. It's going to cool things down here across a lot of the region. But then look at this next trough on last night's European, and that's where it ends at hour 144. But look at this trough just opening up. Very cold air. There's actually wind potential for some interior locations here also if this lines up just right, and I'll show you some of that here in a moment. But yeah, this is going to be introducing a very cold air mass. We're talking mountain snows and very chilly temperatures, big changes from what we're expecting or what we've been experiencing right now, especially for places like Seattle and Portland. Now, looking at Seattle, Tacoma, you can kind of see when that system slides down here as we go on into next Tuesday to Wednesday, there's some bigger gusts showing up in here. Some of these up over 40 or 50 miles per hour. And I cherry picked a couple of these so we can kind of just see the trajectory of the system. You can see the storm developing and deepening as it makes landfall. This would cast a pretty nice gradient across the Puget Sound, the Cascades, windy conditions, very cold air moving into the region after that. As you can see this, almost like an Arctic high this early in the year, sagging south over British Columbia. Some very cold air associated with that. If this was January, you'd be talking about lowland snow down into Seattle and some lower elevation areas. This is another one here. We're looking at member, I believe. Let's check it out. We're going to go to member number 28 here and check out this system as it deepens. Look at that deep low pressure over Vancouver Island. We're springing another powerful gradient here across portions of western Washington, and really across the entire region here as this ushers in a very cold air mass. And you can see that Arctic high again sagging south across British Columbia, Rockies, Alberta there, bringing a much colder air mass into the region. Now, looking at the European, this is last night's run, total snow 10-to-1 ratio. This is the initial system kind of sliding through, not a big deal, but then you can kind of see the Rocky Mountains start first. You get some of that snowfall here, and then look at some of Vancouver Island, British Columbia getting in on the action. The Olympic Mountains, their first shot of snow as well. Cascades would be next after that, and this goes through about Tuesday night, and that's where that ends, but that's not where the snow ends. Check out the GFS hot off the presses this morning. We're going to just scroll through here. And then you can see this system slide down during the day Tuesday. Big snowfall amount showing up for BC. Check out the Cascades. Nice shot of snowfall. It's been backing off a little bit on some of the runs here on what kind of snowfall is going to happen across the Oregon Cascades. But look at this across Montana, the Intermountain West here, like Rocky Mountains, BC, the Cascades of Washington, Olympics. This will be the first major snowfall for some of the areas here with this very cold air mass moving across the region. And the GFS Ensemble mean, I wanted to show you this. So we looked at the European. This is this morning's Ensemble mean. There goes our initial system here, and then the next system sliding down. The GFS has kind of been all over with how far this trough is going to extend out west. So still some model disagreement that we're dealing with here, and we're still looking at 100 hours plus out. So we're still trying to nail down some of the details on this and how much of western Washington, Oregon, and how much of the Cascades are going to be included in some of the snowfall that arrives. This is looking at the GFS. You want to know why people make fun of the GFS sometimes? Check this out. You can see the ridge. Of course, in the short term, there's decent agreement. This is the 12Z run that's hot off the presses, and this is yesterday afternoon's GFS run. So here's the big ridge there. And as you can see, the next system moving in mainly into the west coast and Oregon there. Then the next system drops down. And look at how last night's run just basically took that trough away from a lot of the Pacific Northwest. And then, of course, the 06Z also brings us back as well. But the 12Z also shows this setting up right over western Washington also. And look at the big differences. You've got a ridge in much different position of that shortwave moving down the west coast of North America. So the GFS just kind of wild and all over the place with some of these runs. So we go ahead and take a look at the Ensemble mean. And we'll look at the Ensemble mean of yesterday afternoon's where it took away that shortwave completely. And this is the importance of looking at Ensemble members. So as we go on into the following week, you notice the Ensemble still showed this shortwave kind of reaching down for the Pacific Northwest here. So yeah, that's the importance of looking at the Ensemble members here. You might just look at one random deterministic run for the GFS and say, like, oh, that storm is gone and we're not going to get anything. But yeah, the importance of the Ensemble runs there as well. And thank goodness we have the European model to check in with also. Now, looking at national blended models, you can see another very warm day today and kind of see that cutoff across British Columbia down into western Washington. Look at the Willamette Valley, nice and toasty out there. Some 80s for eastern Oregon. Also, tomorrow, we start to bring some clouds back in here, and then you notice the system as we go on into the weekend really cooling things down. But then as we go into next week, look at some of these chilly temperatures showing up across some of the higher terrain of the Cascades of Washington. And you can say bye-bye to the 60s for a while here for Seattle. Maybe getting back up into some of the 60s for western Oregon as we go through the weekend here. But definite cool down coming with this air mass. And still some model disagreement with how this is going to unfold Here we are looking at the GFS, the 12Z run, 2-meter temperature anomaly, the nice warm weather here across much of the region. And that is going to be replaced, folks, because look what's coming. Even on the GFS, it shows this much colder air mass moving down across the area. Look at some of Montana, 35 degrees below what they normally get at this time of year. And you can see that cold air settling down across much of the Pacific Northwest here as well. So yeah, big pattern change definitely incoming. Intermountain West, first major snowfall of the year, looks to be incoming here through late October. This is looking at the drought monitor here. So, we did erase some of this extreme drought across western Oregon here, and we did improve some of that severe drought across portions of Washington here as well, but we're still dealing with the very abnormally dry conditions here across some of the foothills here of western Washington up through Sonoma, Skagit, and Whatcom County, including King County as well. So hopefully we can continue to work on that over the next few weeks here. But yeah, we did get some improvement here on the last 2 weeks. But yeah, interesting stuff here. So we got a lot to talk about here over the next few days. I may do another video today at some point, or I may even go live. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll continue to watch this trough roll down here, and we've got a couple days to figure things out to see if there actually is a wind threat here for some of the interior sections of western Washington, Oregon, how cold it's going to get here across the Pacific Northwest, what kind of snowfall in the Cascades. And yeah, but the confidence is really increasing in a cold shot coming down, especially east of the Cascades across Idaho and Montana. So heads up for that, especially if you're out across Montana or Alberta, Wyoming, eastern Idaho here. The pattern change is very likely incoming here. So anyway, we'll continue to work out these details. Check out the California channel. I'm leaving the link down here to the bottom left, so hopefully you guys can click on that if you're wondering where those daily briefings are. It's now on its own channel, California Weather Watch. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Get out and enjoy that warm weather while you can, and I will talk to you guys either today or tomorrow morning.